Hello, welcome to the Andrew Michael Matter podcast. I'm here with my man, my brother, my guy, DJ.
Oh yeah.
DJ, say hey to everyone.
Hey everybody. I'm DJ.
So, we're going to have a conversation today about the church in the future, and everything is being framed in the context of wanting to make society, the world, the church better. So the goal is that we wouldn't be afraid to say anything. We wouldn't shy away from saying something that we feel simply because of how it could be perceived. I think we both care deeply about institutions like the church, if
hmm
institution is even the right word for it. But we've got to assess the health and assess the good and the bad that we've got. So starting off, is it a win for the church to have black and white people gather together on Sundays?
um, I would say both. I would say it's both. Um, I'll say that because a win because um, a few decades ago, it would never happen. Um, but my focus is on, or I can't say my focus. That sounds horrible. Um, something that I'm trying to relay is the lost part, so that we can change it. The reason I lean towards more of a loss is because a lot of people look at it and say, "Look, see, white and black people are sitting in the same pew. There's no problem with the church. There's no racism. There's no white supremacy in the church." And it's like you can have a multi ethnic congregation without having a multicultural church. You can have black, white, and Hispanic sitting next to each other in the congregation and have an all-white staff. And so that part is being ignored. The dust of having a mixed crowd. Oh, like it hides the fact that it's still white supremacy in the church, and I feel like that's kind of a loss. Yeah, because people can't see through that.
Man, good. We're starting off strong
Yeah.
with this. I was thinking about what an ideal church would look like. And I thought, okay, so would it be black, white, Latino, Asian, every like representative group that speaks the same language, or like a Japanese person who also speaks English, or a Chinese person who also speaks English, or a Latino person who also speaks English? Or would it be a situation where there are multiple languages being spoken and there's translators?
See, first let me share my stance on what I feel like the church should look like in general.
All right.
Because a lot of people, when I say the word church, they think of what happens on Sunday morning, the building we gather into, and whoever is preaching that Sunday. And when I think of church, I don't think of that. I don't refer to that. Um, um, when I think the ideal church, it's not a building or a Sunday morning service. It is a community that's constantly growing. Um, it is a family that actually have a relationship with each other. I can go in the church that I attend on Sunday mornings, or used to. Corona has kind of cut it. Um, I know probably 2% of the people that we there. I probably walk past when I go to the store, people that attend the church that I go to. We've probably been attending the same church for years, and I don't know who they are. I think that to me sounds like a business. That sounds like what happens in a work environment. It doesn't sound like something that happens in a family. And I do understand that, like in the Bible, when it comes to church, that or the book of Acts, of what we like to refer to, as when the church started. You know, everybody didn't know everybody. However, it was more of a family feel. No. It was a family feel, so much so to where people on the outside wanted the love that people had with each other was so attractive that people on the outside wanted in. And so when I'm referring to the ideal church, that's what I'm looking at. And that includes Asian or Chinese, Native American, Hispanic, Black, white, etc. That can include any culture, any language, any type of food, because you know the food is one of the most important in the church. It's a blending. I have brothers, I have people close to me that introduced me into the white culture because I didn't grow up into it. I didn't grow up in a white culture. It's some things that I didn't know about. I didn't know about molasses. I didn't know molasses was a thing. I always knew honey. And I had a white friend who lived on Signal Mountain, and he got molasses for his birthday. I said, that's the wackest gift, until I tasted it. I was like, what is this sweet goodness? And he said, it's molasses. I was like, okay, this is new. I didn't know about supper at 6:00 p.m. I've had dinner at 9:30, but it's a whole cultural thing. And me being embraced in that family, that's what church looked like to me. That's what multicultural looks like to me. Because now that family is my family. My Mexican best friend, I was placed into his family. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but that family is just as much family as my mom and my dad. That's what church looks like to me. And that you can't do that by meeting somebody every Sunday morning. This is impossible. And so, yeah, I hope that somewhere in there answered that question.
No, yeah, it was great. So the question that I'm thinking about is logistically, do you form communities with people who don't speak the same language? Like, it feels like that language barrier today in society would keep people from gathering together. So there would be the Spanish church, the English church, there's a Korean church. You know, do you think that in an ideal church, all those people are meeting together and in community across language barriers?
Yeah, it happened in the Bible. Like the people that were there, granted, they spoke in tongues, but were speaking in different languages. But it was a bunch of people who joined that all spoke different languages. It's possible. It seems like it will be an issue, but we've worked our way around harder issues. And no, that's definitely possible. With real community, we'll find a way. Like, yeah. And we got to think too. I mean, we are here in America to where English is one of the primary languages. And so I don't know. I don't even know if that matters. So I don't know. It's possible. It's happening, or it's happened. And it's possible.
So my next question is, you mentioned white supremacy in the church. Is the solution, is the fix for white supremacy having more minority pastors? Is it simply getting someone with different skin color on the pastoral staff? Is that the fix?
The fix, it's hard to say, just say the fix without fully identifying the issue.
Oh, yeah.
Could I kind of explain the issue a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so because we can't just throw the word white supremacy and people think, why are they talking about that in the church? It's a bunch of black, it's the black person, the black guy on staff who plays the keys, he's up there and he gets paid. How can it be white supremacy? And so I want to kind of explain it a little bit. And this is a parable or some type of a parallel that I like to use when I'm talking about white supremacy in the church, or in general. Two families, the Smiths and the Jacksons, right? And the just follow me. The Smiths are they're very short, 4 feet tall, all of them, and they got short legs, short arms, right? The Jacksons are 7 feet tall. They're lanky, and they take up a lot of space, right? So the Smiths, who the small people, Smiths, they mistreated the Jacksons, and they built a whole, though the land belonged to both of them, they built on that land and they pushed the Jacksons out. The Jacksons had to do their own thing, and they had basically nothing. And the Smiths built the towns, they built the cars, they built the beds, they built everything, right? Well, years and years and years and years later, the Smiths felt bad. And so the Smiths said, hey, Jacksons, this is just as much your land as ours. So come and live with us in our city, and it could be your city too. So the Jacksons get in there, but the problem is everything is small. Everything is for a 4-foot person, and it's not for the Jacksons. And so now the Jacksons have to be in this place already designed for 4 feet people, but they don't fit. That's what white supremacy is. In the church specifically, that's what white supremacy is. Everything of the church culture, of the mainstream church culture, was built around the white culture. Everything that the white culture sees as good or sees as this is how we do, it goes, and it's supreme. And so when Black culture gets in, it's like, we don't really fit in. But so we have to, as I like to say, we have to have numb legs, because going back to the Jacksons and the Smiths, the Jacksons, they have to fit inside of these little chairs, and their legs eventually will get numb trying to fit in these little things, but they do it, and they live in this small world. And that's what it's like when a Black person tries to fit into a culture that they don't fit in. So what has to happen is it has to be rebuilt. And so that's how I view white supremacy. That's how I view. So when you have a church, that's why you have the Black and the white church, because the white church is white culture, the things of and not just like the worship music. It's so many little and big
That's
aspects.
actually, the music was the first thing I thought of, so I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, music does have it has a lot to do with it. The perspective of the songs, it does have a lot to do with it, but it's not everything. It has a lot more to do with the community and how the community, or how to affect the community. And so I feel like what will be what will fix it, you have to get people who knows what's necessary in the community, or in that culture. So if I'm a Black dude raised in a Black family, if I wanted to go to Korea and I wanted to do things like I did in my family, and I wanted to treat these people or help these people how I would help my family, it wouldn't work. If I say this is how we're supposed to do it, telling them in Korea, I'm having now Black supremacy. And so I would need somebody of that culture, and I would need to submit myself to them. That's what it looks like. So in a way, to answer your question, yes, you need a multicultural staff, or multicultural pastoral staff, people who have that cultural experience, and that ability to know, or that knowledge to know, to know how to utilize the things that we got, or the things of the church, in order to help the people, to help community. And that's what I feel like the church is for, is to take care of the community around, and for the gospel to bleed out. And so, yes-ish, kind of, yes.
Man, I want to ask you a question really directly about race.
Okay.
So it feels like what you're saying could be perceived as everyone with dark skin tone is the same and everyone with white skin tone is the same. And so if you see someone with dark skin tone walk into your church, you can know this, this, and this about them. And I I feel like that's problematic. I don't know, like what would be your response to that?
Um, when I when I talk about when I talk about cultural things, I specifically don't use race. I say culture. You got to know about the culture. But I also want to say, in some ways, yes, skin tone has a lot to do with it. That's not something that I've that that this my problem. I'm trying to say it correctly. I don't want to misspeak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, it's stuff that Black people deal with on a regular. It don't matter. You can be a Black person raised in a white family, know nothing but white culture, but it's stuff that Black person is going to deal with that white people will never deal with. It don't matter. It's skin color, because of slavery, because my skin color had a lot to do with my how I was seen. It has a lot to do with the culture. It has a lot to do with experience. And so it's a lot of, like I said, there's just things that I was born into that you would never experience, that you can't experience, vice versa. And I mean, I think that's just something we have to accept. Um, I'm curious to know why you think that's problematic.
Well, it's more so like I'm trying to just play devil's advocate in a lot of ways and
Mm-hmm.
try and get you to open up and be more like explain more because you've got so much gold inside of you that I want people to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just feels like looking at someone and then being able to know things about them or like assuming something about them. Like that's something that I'm personally exploring. Like I'm trying to break down those things. Like the connection between when I see someone who's white and like trying to relate to them versus someone who's Black and trying to relate to them. I'm trying to treat people like individuals
Mm-hmm.
instead of having that like, oh, okay, now here's a rap sheet of all my experiences with people with this skin color and like going at it from there. Like treat the individual.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree. I yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. You still have to realize, like, a hard truth is that race wise, we are clumped together in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
With groups like Black Lives Matter, it's not talking about white people. It's talking about Black people. It's like there's things that's trying to get the attention of people of saying, hey, we as a culture, we as a race are experiencing things that we don't want to experience anymore. We're going through
Mm-hmm.
difficult things that we don't, as a group, and so those are the things. It has to be seen that way when you talk about church. I like I said, I understand the whole individual thing because, like, there's from if somebody heard me on the phone, they don't think that I'm like, it's been people that didn't think that I'm Black because I don't speak a certain way. There's people that look at me sideways when I speak or when I talk about my experiences because they're like, it just don't seem like something that you would. I've had that a lot, mostly by like older white people, because so I get that, and it's slightly offensive when when people are like, you don't talk Black. It's like, okay, what is Black? What language is that? Even though I know exactly what they're talking about, but it's offensive thing. So I get, and I respect the fact that you can see that. However, on matters like these, and matters like white supremacy, matters like church and the ideal of it, we have to see culture. We have to see what's something that's we have to see the group sometimes, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I want to share this. I want to be very clear, and I am in no way saying that I comprehend the extent of your experiences as a Black person in America. But something that has been very healthy for me is to have experiences where I felt like I was the minority for whatever reason. One of those examples is when I flew into Karachi, Pakistan, and me and my wife were sticking out like sore thumbs because of our white skin. And that moment, like walking around town, knowing that you stick out, feeling really vulnerable, especially being in a new place, that was a really formative experience for me because it was the first time that I felt like I was different than the majority of people that were there. Um, I don't know if that's empathy or like being sympathetic, but I feel like people that have those types of experiences are obviously a lot more aware of that type of thing. And I think in the church that would benefit us greatly.
I would say yes and no. It kind of goes back to the first thing of like being, when we were talking about the having a multi-ethnic congregation,
Okay.
and how I was saying that could say it can make the people look at it and be like, we solved that issue, but it hasn't solved the issue. It just looked like that could go in that subject, or that under that that example, because it and I've heard it from like white people who gone to, Mozambique, or white people who's gone to different countries to where they are the minority, or they stick out. However, you weren't born there. You can still take a plane back home, and
right. But all I was saying was that was a small taste of, that was like a small introduction to that idea.
yeah,
I'm not saying it's the same at all, but
I get you. I don't want that to be for you to say that and it to be relayed as if like is bigger than it actually is. Not trying to like put down your experience, but
I get that.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I was there for 3 weeks and then I came back to America. So
yeah, like it, because being a minority is it's a small, I'm not gonna say small, but it's not the only part that's the part of the struggle. It was my grandparents, who are still alive, when they were my age, it was, or when they were young, it was parts of the country, or like, it was parts of the country that where if they went to, they would have got hung. You know what I'm saying? It's my grandparents, you know what I'm saying, who are still alive. And this is home for them. And so, like, to have that on your back, to have that, like, to where it's people with that mindset that still exists, to where the people that you put your trust in, like presidents and government, you have to, you constantly are paranoid that they have your best interest because of your culture. Like, it's different aspects of it that makes it so difficult. Like, And I mean, it's a rabbit hole that I can go down and explain every different aspects of the difficulty. Um, but I don't think that that's relevant to what we talk about right now.
So where I was going with sharing that story was, so now, like, just because I've had that little taste, that like single drop of an experience in my life, it opened my eyes to be mindful of those things. So like when I'm in a situation, I want, like, my heart, my desire is to make room for different people instead of just like a Pez dispenser where everyone's the same and going in single file.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's my desire, and I fall short in actually accomplishing that. But I feel like that's got to be a starting point for people, because if people have no emotional understanding of what that is like even to begin with, how do we solve the problem?
I I was hmm, it's different ways I want to go. Um, what would you say your heart is in doing that?
um Wanting people to feel comfortable across cultural boundaries, wanting people to feel like you don't have to change around me, you can just be yourself. I want to hang out with you because of who you are, not because of these guidelines that you can fit in. And really, I guess the bigger goal is unity.
Have you seen Trolls 2?
That like awful science fiction movie that doesn't have a Trolls 1, it just starts with Trolls 2.
No, it definitely has a Trolls 1.
Oh,
It's
there
about
is.
music. It's music, yeah.
Um, oh, okay. There's like a horror movie called Trolls 2, and
Oh
there's
no,
no prequel. It just started with Trolls 2.
never heard of that. No, Trolls 2
Um,
is about is a music thing. Well, in Trolls 2, it's the whole premise of the movie is it's this there it's different types of trolls who do different type of music. You got your pop trolls, you have your rock trolls, you have your classical trolls, you have your funk trolls, and it's one, the rock trolls, she's the queen of that, is trying to take over all music. Her idea is to bring unity, right? But she's taking all the strings in order for everything to be rock. So she's destroyed classical, she's destroyed pop, and she's taken everything and making it rock so that everything could be so unity can be can happen. Well, the pop trolls were not okay with that, and they were fighting. And the queen of the pop trolls, she was like, "No, we're not going to do this. I want unity too, but it doesn't look like this. Everybody can exist, but we need to do it a different way." Both of them wanted unity, but both of them did it a different way, and that's why that word unity is scary sometimes.
why don't you just say what you want to say to me, DJ?
Because I like using examples because I don't know how to say it exactly. These things pop in my head and I say it.
So, okay, so
But
say it.
the problem with the pop troll, this is where I wanted to get to. The problem with the pop troll, she wouldn't listen to anybody. She was trying to do what she wanted to do. Though her heart was to help everybody, she wouldn't listen. And so she was doing everything so she was basically doing the same thing that the rock troll was doing, except she was saying, everybody has a place, and everybody should be, everybody should hear our music because this music it makes you happy, it's good, and we want to make room for everybody to enjoy our music. That's ugly. That's just as ugly as me saying, you're terrible because you don't sound like me, and I'm gonna make you like me. So America, let's take it out of the trolls parallel and look at America. I promise I'm getting to a point. In America, that's something that happened, and of course we already talked about that with white supremacy. The rock troll, like she wants to make everything look like her, And so that happened in America. It was an apology. But we now have to be careful that we don't look like the pop troll who says, I want you to exist the way you are. However, it's best that is listen to our stuff, and we'll help you. We'll help you to get better. We'll help you to have your stuff, and that way we can live in unity. Because that also is a type of supremacy. Her problem in the movie was the listening thing, and I feel like with a bunch of Black people, to white people who have the heart to help, the men, when I've conversed with a bunch of Black people, it's been the same thing. Like when I ask, what do you need? What do you want white people to do? You don't want them to do this. You don't want to do that. What would you want them to do? And it's always the same thing. I just want them to listen. They just need to listen. Stop trying to be the hero. Stop trying to do this, this, and this, because it does not help. I just want you to listen. And I would say take it a step further. Experience our culture. Like, I feel like that's true unity is me submitting myself to a different, or true unity within cultures is me submitting myself to a culture, not trying to bring my ways into their environment, but to submit to their culture.
That's what you hear when people say unity?
My wife is from Honduras. She's Hispanic. So is my best friend. Well, my best friend's from Mexico. In the Hispanic community, I didn't, when it comes to the food, because the big things are food, dancing, music, just the way of being, like that stuff is the beauty in that. I was tempted to say, no, I'm not going to learn that, or no, I'm not going to do that because that's just not how I roll. But instead, I submitted to that culture to experience it in order to have a full experience. I think that is a beautiful thing. I feel like that's not a stereotype that's been pressed on white people, is that doesn't happen with the white culture.
That white culture doesn't submit to other cultures.
Yeah.
Everyone's just expected to come in and submit to white culture.
Yes. Just like right, I said,
and I think that's dumb and evil and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So like I want to go back and just clarify something. So when I was saying like I care about unity, when I gave the example of like wanting to hang out with people for who they are and not fit into guidelines, I wasn't saying that from a perspective of like, imagine that I'm in leadership at a church and I'm trying to do that. I'm saying that like as a congregant.
I don't know what that means.
Like just someone who's attending the church.
Okay.
So I know I cut you off, and I'm sorry for that.
No, you're good. It's a conversation.
But, yeah. I feel like race issues are so dicey to navigate because there's so much experience that I don't understand. There's so much weight that I don't understand. And I guess I kind of feel like you were saying like, oh, like what a white guy with a good heart, but there's no way for you to ever get it right.
That's not what I was saying. White guy with a good heart, you need to know exactly what to do with that heart. If you go off your zeal and you do what you feel is right, that could be the wrong thing. That was my point. That was the whole Trolls 2, Poppy, Pop Troll. That was the whole ordeal. It is very thin ice. You have to be extremely meticulous, and gentle with the subject, because your zeal could still be highly offensive to the Black culture. So that's where I was going, or what I was, my point.
Okay.
If your zeal, if expressed wrong, can be offensive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but
I feel like I have a context for it and an understanding. The biggest I feel like, not, I hesitate to use the word solution. It's not the solution, but a good starting point is communication.
mm-hmm.
Like this, like us having this conversation right now. Like if people don't know, like, we can have these types of conversations, and I feel like you're a brother to me.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time together, and we've connected through music and many other things. And so let's go back to the ideal church.
Okay.
So let's say someone comes to you. Let's say an angel appears to you in a vision, and they say, DJ. I gotta think of what they're gonna say. Angels love dramatic pauses. Making sure you're listening. We are striking the current infrastructure of churches across the nation, and you are being given the blueprint to create for this new church that's going to serve America well. So how does that start? What does it look like? One white pastor, one Black pastor?
How about, that's very broad. That's a very broad thing, because I think about this a lot, and it's so many different aspects to that but what I'm getting from you is that you're specifically talking about race and culture, right?
Well, I feel like that's what our conversation is
mm-hmm.
centered around, so it makes sense to
but it's still different factors that play into that.
But feel free, diverge. Like, I just want you to spill the beans, spill your thoughts on it.
I have no idea how that would start.
Okay, so I guess the question in my mind is the culture thing. Is it possible for multiple cultures to coexist in equal amounts so that no one is having to submit to the other culture? And when you say submit, I don't think you're saying, like, I think there needs to be a distinction between learning about that culture and submitting. So like in the example you gave about like Latin culture and the dancing and the food. So like when we went to your birthday party and there was only like Tex-Mex and Latino food, was I submitting to the culture because there was only one culture of food being offered?
Sure. And that with that factor, yes.
Okay. So then how is submission the same as like being educated about a culture?
No.
Okay.
I'm educated of the African culture, but I know nothing about it. I could say stuff about it, but I've never experienced it.
If I go, to be clear, you're saying like the continent of Africa.
Sure.
You're not saying like in the context of African American.
No, not African American.
Okay, got it.
Though it's many different countries in Africa, so that's kind of a broad thing too. I will always go to Mozambique. Well, that's Mozambique culture. I could Google it and I can learn about the food they eat. I can educate myself of the culture. But if I go there, I'm like, I'm not gonna eat that because I don't know where that's from. Or this is not a party. I'll show you what a party is. You come back to my, like, I'll show you what a party is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, like this room it looks weird. Let me show you pictures of my room, and I'll show you that right there is what I refer to as not submitting to the culture, which happens. That happens on a regular with people. But to allow the things that you may feel uncomfortable, that may not be your cup of tea, and you, instead of going by how you feel, you say, you know what? They presenting this, and this is right here, and I want to be a part of it. So I'm just gonna. That's what I refer to as submit. That's what it feels like, because it's been times where I'm like, that thing looks too hot. I'm not gonna eat it. You know what? I am gonna eat it. And it was a beautiful connection that I had. And that's a true story. I ate a pepper that was probably the hottest pepper I've ever had in my life. But when I did it, like the connection that happened was wonderful. And I'm glad I did, and I'll do it again. And it's so, and that's just, like I said, a small example, but it's so many things like that to where that's what I refer to as submit. And it's possible for it to be a multicultural group, a family of people whose heart is set on affecting the community and providing whatever is needed in a community, and partnering with other groups of people who are called by the name of Jesus, to affect the city. That to me is what church looked like. That is an ideal of an ideal church to me.
So then sorry, go ahead.
But I think specifically what we're talking about, it's that of what I'm saying of my definition of submitting to the culture. It's what it looks like. Choosing to experience a different culture despite your or your feelings about it. That's love. I had a friend who was the molasses friend, who was as white as can be, homeschooled. He was white. He was
a white thing.
His culture, if you knew my friend Steve, yes. Well, because homeschool, you're schooled at home, right? And so the only social and cultural stuff you get is at home. And if you have a white family, you don't experience different. And he didn't have a lot of other experiences with other cultures, but he was also embraced by my family, and he had the typical things that you would think of in a black family. He experienced. My man had like, when it comes to the food, when it comes to the music, and he embraced it, though it was completely different for him, though it was abnormal. He chose to experience it, down to getting cornrows. My man's got cornrows, yeah, and to me, it pleased my heart more than I could understand. I didn't know why him simply getting cornrows made me feel so accepted by him, but it did. It for some reason, it's like it broke something that was built up, a little bit of something and at that point I didn't understand it. But when he decided to like submit to the culture, it was a beautiful thing, and we had a wonderful connection, and him and my family. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it looks like. I think that's what it would look like across the board, for every culture, and that could be a wonderful thing in a church.
We can keep talking about race issues, culture issues in the church, or we could break off and we could talk about some of the other issues in church. What do you want to do?
Let's talk about other issues.
Okay. So then, this angel that's come to you, DJ,
Uh-oh.
we are striking the current infrastructure of the church. Tell us, will there be church buildings? Will there be mortgages? Will there be landscaping at our churches?
I feel like I know your answer since you brought up landscaping. So much money has gone into landscaping in churches. You know what's worse? So much money's gone to landscaping in churches, but the house down the street looks terrible. The house down the street got weeds growing out of their house. And yeah, you have bushes the shape of as crosses, shaped as crosses.
They get trimmed on the daily.
That's a negative. That's a negative. Can I speak freely?
Yes, I want you to.
Yo, how we have services that don't service nothing. Like when I go to a oil service station, if I go there and then I meet and we talk about the oil service without my car getting the oil change, it makes no sense. I didn't get serviced. So why do we have services where no service is being done? How can you have services on a regular and you spend thousands, some tens of thousands on these services, and yet the community around you look like poop? How do you do that? Like, service supposed to be that community around you. That's where those tens of thousands of dollars should go in, not your live stream. I'm not talking about anybody in particular.
So you want to go to a church building that's falling apart? That's what I'm hearing.
Nope. I want to go to. My point is that the purpose that we serve as the church is to transform the community. When Jesus walked into a place, when he walked into a town, he had this thing about him to where everything around him would be transformed. His love was so yolky. And when I say yolky, if you get an egg yolk and you throw it in a crowd of people, it's going to land on a lot of people. It's going to get stuck on you. And that's how Jesus' love, when he was around, like it just got stuck on you. It affected everything that was around him. He had that thing, and that thing that he had, we now have that. We have that, and we can utilize that. And we don't just it's not just one man walking around with that. It's a bunch of people. We all supposed to be utilizing that. Why is it not happening? Why can you have 5 churches on a block and it's still these darkness around those churches? It's still homes. People are getting evicted out of homes around these churches. It's still beautiful landscapes in church, but horrible landscape on the neighbor's yard down the street. Why is stuff like that happening? Why can't we just utilize love? Because if my homie live down the street from me and my grass look crisp, his grass is gonna look crisp too. Like that's just, we know that's common knowledge. Like if you have a family member that live next door, you're gonna take care of them as if they live in your house. That's how it's supposed to be with the church. And that love, that expression of love is supposed to leak out of so many different avenues from us. And we have so many people, so many people with different skills, with different ideas, with different with all these things, all these ways to show the love, and that love could transform the community, and yet it's not being utilized to not even to half of its capability. So no, and it's a lot of money that goes into buildings. It's a lot of money that goes into Sunday service. Look, when coronavirus hit, churches scrambled. Churches were going crazy. Oh no, we're gonna do live stream, and Zoom made a lot of money. YouTube made a whole bunch of, with all these live streams happening, and people trying to figure out, oh man, how are we gonna get this? Like churches having parking lot services, having baskets passed. Like we scrambling, and it's because we're trying to pay bills and we're trying to build up. Like it's some cell phone kingdom game, trying to build up our kingdom or our empire, and it's whack. Take away the building, take away that temptation.
So just meet in parks, like meet in open public areas. Is that the solution?
The solution is to be a family. Like the union. I'm a part of the union, and I consider that to be one of the most biblical church foundation or church structures, if I might, that I know. We don't meet on the regular. We don't have a service every week, but we are well connected with each other. And it's wonderful. It's beautiful. We check up on each other. We are vulnerable with each other. We don't have to have this Sunday morning mask on. We love one another. It's real, and it's a real community, and we do things and we support. That's what it's supposed to look like. Meetings, the Sunday to have meetings, I feel like is completely necessary. We are to have some type of fellowship to where we are able to get together. But when you have it as when you meet in the way that we do, it becomes the main thing. When I worked at Red Robin, we used to have meetings also, but our meetings had to do with how we served. Okay, we're gonna implicate this new thing that we're serving, or we're gonna take care of the people differently, or we're gonna add this in order for this to be easier for the people. That's what our meetings were about. That, but with church people, our meetings are the main thing. Our meetings are not about how to serve the community. Our meetings are mostly about how to serve ourselves. We go there to serve ourselves. And I think that's a disservice because, like I said, it becomes the backbone of church. It becomes the backbone of community. And those Sunday mornings are the Christian way of community. It is a very poor way. You're not nourished at all. And that's something that would change too. Like just Sunday morning services would no longer be the thing. That's what we're known for. That's our hashtag. You think church, you think Jesus people, you think Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whack.
So then, how big is the ideal church?
Oh, the ideal church is humongous. But like I said, it's family. And so, like I said, it doesn't look like 6,000 people that meet together. It's a web of people who are constantly moving, constantly working together. Like I said, staying connected. And it's somebody it's folks that, of course, you have to have people to kind of to control, or somebody to go to in order to, like, if I wanted to, like, let's say that this church that I'm talking about, I was not a part of, and they came to my door and they knocked on my door and said, "Hey, we're just Jesus people," which, let's say my church is called Jesus People Church. That's such a whack name, but it probably exists. And we came to see if you needed anything. We have a group that's meeting in a house, and we got some funds together, and we got some we can, I don't know, I'm winging it, which is not, I'm not the best at winging stuff, but if people start to come, or it's such a desire of mine, which to be able to go to somebody's house and say, hey, we just want to take care of you. We see that you have a broken window, and we have some folks that can fix that. So we just need your permission, and we can fix that window for you. No problem. It'll just take a couple hours. And we fixed the window, and these people are like, who in the world just fixed my window, and why? And now we have a relationship. Now we're having a conversation. Now they're inviting us. Now every once in a while, and they got our number. They call us. Now we're praying for them. Now they're a part of our community, and now they are meeting with us when we go and try to fix somebody else's window. Like, that is beautiful to me. And then, to me, that's what the church looks like. And like I said, it's not like, every once in a while, it will be dope to have a giant gathering, maybe in a park or something like that. But it's not common for that. That's not the main thing. That's not the backbone of the community. The backbone of the community is to actually serve. So the service is not, a man preaching for an hour and a half and with some songs, but the service is me sweating in my my yard clothes, you know what I'm saying? or whatever. Like, there's so many people that do different things, or prayer for somebody. And so that, yeah.
So it sounds like you're saying that you would strike all salaries from the church.
Dang. See, it's so many different aspects of the church, or of this ideal church. It's that's such a broad thing. Salaries. I don't know. There's a way. I know there's a beautiful way, but I don't want to impose my idea of money, because like, trust me, Andrew, that's a whole different route where we shouldn't go. Be here for a couple hours.
We shouldn't, or we should go there.
We shouldn't.
Can we go there in part 2?
Sure. No.
Come on, DJ. It doesn't help anyone if it just stays in your head. We got to get these ideas out there.
That's why I'm saying, I don't know if it'll help or if it'll just bring havoc. It's a bunch of people that disagree. But I think that it should be, we built the church in the way it's supposed to. Money won't be an issue. All of our, that's not true. Most of our monies, who am I? A lot of our money goes to Sunday service. So if you don't have that, where would the money go? Into the community. When a community is built up and you're constantly growing, money is not going to be an issue. I know churches, they're well taken care of. They're not a rich church. They're not a mega church. They're well taken care of, and it's because they serve and they put a lot of money towards serving. It's just that's how it works. Like, a lot of where they put their cash doesn't come back. It's not investments in the natural sense. But they're well taken care of, and I think it has a lot to do with that. That right there is an act of faith. I don't want to take away the spiritual aspects of the form of the how I feel like church should be, because it's a bunch of spiritual principles that Jesus talks about. Seek the kingdom first, and all these things will be added on to you. Like, don't worry about clothes. Don't worry about these things that pagans worry about. God just said he got you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that has a lot to do with finances, I don't think that people should be broke or poor. That's not what I'm implying, which I've had a lot of debates about this, and that's what they feel like I'm saying. Like, I'm saying, church people should be broke. I don't feel that way. I feel like we, as a church people, put the money in the wrong place. Our soil that we put our seed in is not as rich as we have preached that it is. And it's a lot of people who are in the who I know that has been they've been in the back rooms, they've been in the pastoral meetings, and they've confirmed that, like, yo, like, if you knew how much the percentage of the stuff that we get, or of the money and where it goes and how much actually goes towards like missionary work and the community, like it's sad. And this is from different church people from different churches that I know, like, and I think that's we're robbing ourselves of how God has intended for us to thrive, when financially. But I do think that people should get, like, it's Andrew, stop. You I'm saying the stuff that's in my head. Next question, please.
All right, let's see. So it's really easy for me to be sarcastic about these issues and make jokes at the expense of people, just because, you know, I was on staff at a church for 6 years that I helped start. I was the worship pastor. I was in charge of the music, and you just see everything from that perspective. And I have all of these thoughts about how it could be better. But it feels like this current church system and the people that are planning churches now, there's so much momentum in this model. And I think the model, I would be comfortable saying that the model is based upon white culture.
Yeah.
And it's propagating and it's spreading. And I think that it is evil to exclude Black people from the church in that way. I think it is wicked. I think it's sinful. I think it is wrong. And I don't know how we are going to get ourselves out of this situation except from people waking up to the realities of these things. And I'm not necessarily saying it from a perspective of, oh, when people wake up to what we know, because I don't think there's any pride or hubris in us saying this. We're talking about these things because we're fed up with how things are. But I really don't know how this is going to get attenuated or fixed without a like massive crash and burn.
I don't think that would be necessary. I think that one guy sees it, and there's a bunch of people praying about this issue, and I feel like what he's doing is building. When you build the right thing, people will see it. People will join. People will be a part of that. And building that thing doesn't necessarily destroy the old ways. It just gives opportunity for people to experience the way it should be. And I feel like that's the most graceful way of doing it, us coming to be what we should be. And so I think it's a lot of moves that God is making through his people. And yeah, it's an awakening as people waking up to this issue. And like I said, God is building a new format of the church that like it doesn't war against the way we're doing it. It's just because if it warred against it, like that would be just as bad, because now the church people are the enemy. It will be made like that, and that's not at all what it should be. or the people who like it the way it is will be the enemy. And I don't think that that's the goal. Just as the Pharisees, like when Jesus would speak, yeah, he spoke a lot of, I mean, he said some hard things to the Pharisees and to people of that tribe, or of the Pharisee and Sadducee and the teachers. He spoke some harsh things to them, but it wasn't to destroy them. They were a part of the crowd, just like the tax collectors and the evil folk. They just needed to hear something different from the tax collectors and the evil folk. And it was a lot of Pharisees that were like, yo, I like this way, and I like this. He's my Lord. Like, I'm following him. And Jesus said, even those folks, you have the knowledge of the old stuff, and you're being brought into the new. That's so much better. And I feel like that's what it looks like with the church. And I just refer to church people as Pharisees. I was using that strictly as a metaphor, not that's not what I meant. I don't think that the church people are Pharisees. Like I said, it's just metaphor. But yeah, I think God is building something new, a beautiful thing that includes all. So I'll just stick to that. Nobody has to crash and burn. Except Satan.
And white supremacy.
And white supremacy, that's Satan.
It's got to go.
Yeah.
I have this controversial statement, and I don't say it very often, because in conservative Christian culture, the worst thing that you could do is say anything that could be perceived in any way as derogatory or lessening the value of the Bible. And so I want to say my statement, and then I want to ask you a question afterwards.
Okay.
So the statement is, 100 days out of 100 days, if I were given the choice between only having the Bible or only having the Holy Spirit, 100 days I am choosing to have only the Holy Spirit. There wouldn't be one day where I would choose to just have the Bible. And so now here is my question for you. Do you feel like even the way that the Bible is perceived, is the Bible in the white culture camp? Or do you feel like the Bible is neutral?
You talk about in respect of how you see it, like how the Bible is made in the image of God, like.
No, what I'm saying is like, regardless of what type of church, culturally, racially, any other factor, the Bible is being taught. But it kind of feels like, and granted, I've been in predominantly white church cultures. So maybe I'm seeing it through that lens, but I was just curious if you feel like the Bible has any sort of cultural attraction, or if you feel like it's really neutral.
I'm trying to get how you asking the question. When you say cultural attraction, I feel like the Bible is viewed on both sides, is viewed as, I don't want to say something that's not necessarily answering your question. But I'll just spitball. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of, like, on both sides, I feel like the Bible is held high and is not favoring one over the other. However, I feel like it's viewed, is the Bible and the stuff in the Bible is viewed culturally. I feel like the Bible is plain in what it says when you can see it submitted under the Holy Spirit, or when you don't, But can you? That's a hard question. Can you tell me how you feel, and then I can probably give my, because I don't fully understand the question.
Mm-hmm. To be honest, I don't know if I fully understand the question either. But I guess I just feel like the way I was approaching it was with, keeping in the back of my mind the things that the Bible has been used to condone.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like
Like
predominantly
slavery?
supports white culture. And so I just wondered if you saw the Bible in that light, or you saw it like you separated, like, no, that's just they were reading into it or they're taking it out of
Oh
context.
yeah, no,
I don't
no,
think it
yeah,
adds
okay.
any.
Okay, yeah, no, it's definitely neutral, because you got the Hebrew Israelites that can point out scriptures and say that all white people are evil. So yeah, like, and they know the Bible better than your Sunday morning pastor. Like, they can quote scripture, your Sunday morning pastors can't. Like, they know their stuff. And so yeah, it's people that twist the Bible. The Bible, yeah, when it comes to that neutral, yeah, it will be neutral. Yeah, yeah, people twist the Bible to say all kinds of stuff. It doesn't favor any other. That's just because when it comes to our, like, the knowledge of Bible in America, that was the earliest view of it. The white, from a white lens, was the earliest view. I've had to unlearn a lot of stuff that I viewed in a white lens. Things that Jesus did. Jesus himself. I had to remove the white lens, um, and it helped me to it broadened my view of being able to see Jesus and how he accepts all. And yeah, it's neutral will be the answer to the question.
That made
Man.
me think of one of my favorite chapel services that I've ever sat in was a black pastor in town. He came and spoke to us about how the Bible is like black history. And he was basically saying, look at the reference in Genesis, the Tigris, the Euphrates, Africa, Egypt, that realm in the world. And then think about how you imagine the people in the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That makes
generally,
sense.
white people always imagine all white people. And like, surprisingly, and I was so saddened to hear this because I asked some of my black students afterwards how they thought about it. And they said, yeah, honestly, I've just kind of only thought of the people in the Bible as white also.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, white supremacy is real. That's why when I talk about, when I say that I had to take my white lenses off, and I'm still going through that process. Yeah, as a kid, Jesus was white, God is white, David was white. Everybody but like 3 people in the Bible were white. You have my man's Simon, who helped Jesus. He was a black. That's all. I mean. And so that was my view, like, growing up. It was either that, either Jesus was white with that little goatee beard, with the soft eyes, with the straight brown hair, blue eyes, or he was the black Jesus with the Jerry curl and the lineup, super clean, with the chains. Like, that was it was either one of those. Both of them just as wrong, but one is a response to. Like, people, I get the response. I get why they made the black Jesus with the dreads. I understand that, because it's a response of like, no, Jesus wasn't white. and you made Jesus in your image, and we're going to do the same thing. It was a response. So I get it, but it's still not correct. But it's so regular. And when people say that, when you see a white guy with long hair and a beard, and they're like, man, when your pastor up there says he looks just like Jesus, you're like, wait, my mans, why does he look like Jesus? You think I got a beard, I got long hair, you think I look like Jesus? No, you wouldn't say that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a really ugly thing that's been made to be regular, to be normal, and it's not. It's destroyed people in the Black community. It has destroyed you. The Hebrew Israelite exists only because of that, because they grew up feeling like they were the others, like the white people were the Israelites and the Black people were the Gentiles. That's what it feels like. That's what it felt like. In reading the Bible, that was like ingrained, that we were the other. And that's just not how it was. And not saying that it makes a huge difference that Jesus himself wasn't a white person, but the white lens and how we see our Savior, I guess it does. It makes a difference. But some would say it wouldn't. Some would say that's minute. But I'm pretty sure that some of those people have not taken off the white lens, whether they be white or Black. But a lot of Black people live in a white world, like, and that's just the truth. And when it comes to the church culture, that's just how it is. And it's important now, I feel like, to fix that. That's something that I feel like should be addressed and fixed in the church. Because that's if that's not a constant, hey, y'all need to change this. Hey, that's not how we should do it. Hey, don't say that Jesus looked like this man. This man looks like Matthew McConaughey. Don't say that Jesus looked like him. Stop. It's not helping. That's something I feel like not a lot of things should be like just expressed that way, but that's something that should be. But yeah, that's a problem. Matthew McConaughey Jesus.
I want to know your answer to the 100 days. How many days are you picking the Bible? How many days are you picking the Holy Spirit?
If I had to choose one,
yeah,
it would definitely be the Holy Spirit. It would definitely be the one who wrote the book.
Because the way you were looking at me when I was giving my answer was like, oh, I don't know. I thought I knew your answer, but then the way you reacted, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's 100%.
So when Jesus comes back, is he going to be in that same skin? Because I've heard some people literally say they think when Jesus comes back, he's going to be like a mix of races. Like he's going to have one Asian-looking eye, and then like a black nose, and he's going to be like a mix of all these different races. What do you think about that?
Oh, that sounds funny.
Right?
Yeah, that's I mean, that's silly. It's silly to try to figure that out. Two, like, John saw Jesus in his transfigured or his glorified way, and he kind of described a little bit of him. So that's all we got to go by. His hair be white. I know that he have white hair, and he have bronze feet. So he could look like how he looked when he was here, like a Middle Eastern. So
I feel like that's the obvious answer, is that Jesus was Middle Eastern, not black, not white. I can only think of one Middle Eastern portrayal of Jesus that I've seen. And it's actually from a scientific archaeological dig where these people claim that they were able to reconstruct the face of Jesus from the Shroud of Turin, I think it was, which is what was
I
said.
saw that. I saw that. Lumo, I believe that's what it's called, Lumo Project. Dope. Like they have videos and they make it. They did a good job of portraying Jesus. So you should check that out. Lumo Project. Really dope job. They actually got like a Middle Eastern looking guy in the Middle East eating Middle Eastern food. You know what I'm saying? Like it was actually you know.
It's funny. Jesus is up there just thinking like, yeah, you're gonna have to submit to this Middle Eastern food when you get up here.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have like the white blonde haired Jesus with the mullet. You didn't have that. I've seen it. It's real. I'm not making that.
No.
Yeah, the mullet. But I don't know. It was cool that they did that. It took away that icky feeling of like Jesus looks like Matthew McConaughey. But yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna call it.
Okay.
I've loved this. There were some tense moments, some joyous moments, and I just love any opportunity I can get to communicate, share ideas.
Yeah.
I just think we're better for it, and I think it's not even like, it feels corny to say like white people leaning across the aisle, but it's just like I'm genuinely interested in how to do this better.
Yeah, and I want to say this: I'm no expert in any way in anything, but being myself, and I'm grateful for you to have me on here. Like I'm just sharing my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? I'm still, like I said, I'm still learning. So it's stuff that I can have the wrong perspective on. But you asked me questions and I gave what I feel. And so I don't want people to think that I have some type of superior knowledge, or my hands are open, my mind is open to always receive truth.
That's really good, man.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I love you so much.
Love you too.